cup of green tea. G'day there, it's Danny here from Board Game Sanctuary. I'm an avid modern board gamer from Australia who loves sharing my passion for board gaming with you, my friends, and my family. And today do I have a charming, beautiful game for you. It's got a really strong theme about finding that forever home for all those shelter dogs out there. This is an abstract game that has a beautiful sense of charm and a lot of heart. Let's get this video started. So let's quickly dive into how a game of Forever Home works. In this game, you're going to take two actions on your turn. You can either take a dog, take a training card, or move a dog that's currently on your player board. When you take a dog, you basically take the token that you want from the market area and place it anywhere on an open space in your field. If you take a training card, you literally take the card and put it into your hand and replace it from the deck. If you want to move your dog, you can take an existing dog token that's on your player board, move it orthogonally, or you can even move that dog diagonally. You're trying to fulfill the different patterns that appear on those training cards. When you complete those patterns, you get victory points at the end of the game, and in addition, you'll actually get to house a certain number of species into one of the 4 different home spaces at the top of your player board: the city, the suburbs, the countryside, or the foster home. Each of those 4 regions are then matched up with 4 different objective cards that are laid out for all the players. The city might have an objective card that indicates that you need to have different dog species that are housed there. The suburbs might have an objective card where you need a certain combination of dogs in order to get the victory points there. The countryside might require pairs, and the foster home will always require 1 dog of any species to go there to get a point. So as you take dog tokens from the market area and place them on your board, they're going to fill up your board and create different colored patterns. According to a lot of these training cards, you'll see that these training cards will want those particular species of dogs to be laid out in a certain way, and those patterns can be completed in any orientation. So this particular card will need 2 different dog species, both being diagonal from each other. If you have that in your playboard area, you can then fulfill that and then move one of those dog species to one of those 4 home areas, which will contribute to the endgame scoring for that particular home. In addition to that, you've got a competition board, which is like a place where you take those dogs that you've trained, you put them on show, and then you start awarding points. And these public awards are given out to whichever player has the most of that particular species that satisfies the condition that's on the board. So for example, with this pink dog, whichever player has the most pink tokens on their player board at the end of the game is going to get 3 points. So you've got this public objective of trying to get particular tokens in particular spots. You've also got the global 4 different home regions which give you additional levels of scoring, and you've got this whole market interaction that's going to happen here. So you've got this racing element where you're trying to get the right combo of tokens on your board, and you've also got this drafting element where you are drafting tokens and drafting training cards. So in the solo mode, what you're going to do is you're going to move this little cube along. You've got about 8 turns, but if you want to take more turns, you'll take a penalty at the end of the game. And what I'll do is I'll reveal a card from this solo deck, which literally just tells you which cards or dog tokens to remove. This keeps the market looking and feeling fresh. So there are 4 different scoring objectives. Basically here you'll have 3 different species of dogs. Whichever species is here, if you've got that greater than the other 2 species combined in homes, you get 5 points. This will score you 1 point for each of the particular species that you have here in the foster home. Here, for every species of dog that you've got listed here across different homes, you'll get 2 points per home that it's in. And here, if you've got more of this particular species over that species, you'll get 3 points. And so with the solo mode, what's really interesting is that you get to evolve how the different species of dogs are going to score in your solo game. That's not really it's not predetermined like in the multiplayer game, but in the solo version, you get to kind of decide it as the game progresses, as you see tokens come out, as you see different species placed on your board. Now, what I find interesting about the puzzle that this game presents, and it is definitely a puzzly game, it's definitely a pattern building game where you're connecting the patterns together. I think there is a great connection between how you place these 7 different dog species tokens on your board and then try and fulfill as many of these training cards as you can. There is an aspect to the puzzle where you've got to try and see connections in your grid. And as you see those connections and synergies, you can kind of create cool spatial combos where you can kind of complete one card, move that dog into a home, then complete the second card, move the other dog into the home, and then possibly, accrue some of those training cards throughout the game. And what's really cool is that the particular types of species of dogs that you place on your grid is super crucial for where they're actually going to go after you complete those patterns. So if I just simply collect yellow dog tokens throughout the entire game, or blue dog tokens, that's not really going to help me diversify how I score when I send them to their forever homes. So I'm always constantly thinking 3 steps ahead, both long term and in the immediate stance, that if I take this purple species of dog and I place it on my grid, how is that purple species of dog going to satisfy the training cards that I've got in my hand? And then where is that purple species of dog going to go once I complete it? This particular dog, whilst it requires 2 species to complete, I can house one of those species into one home. And what's really interesting here is that when I move that species off the board, the other 2 dog tokens are going to still remain on my field. So I can use those other dog tokens to complete other patterns like this one, where I just need 3 of the same species with a space in between each of them. So at one point at the end of the game, but I can house one of these species. And I think the best species to use right now is to house this green dog. And I think because this card features a green dog as one of its requirements, I'm going to place this dog here. In order to get the 7 points at the end of the game, I'll also need a yellow dog, a blue dog, and then one other dog of any color. One of the interesting design elements that I've seen in this game is that because you can fulfill these training cards by rotating the pattern or mirroring the pattern, and because a lot of these training cards do overlap in some sort of way, it is quite easy to adjust how you complete these cards. Whilst you think, I won't be able to complete this diagonal pattern, there is another pattern that kind of overlaps it in a certain way. So you can use a pre-existing configuration on your board to adjust your strategy, move in a different direction, and solve the puzzle from a different point of view or using a different training card. As these dog tokens get kind of drafted, you only really have the 4 options that are in front of you on your turn. And if that particular species of dog that you're waiting for doesn't appear, you've really got to think, okay, do I have a backup plan, and what other colored species can I set up on my board so I can fulfill some of the other training cards in your hand? And the more training cards you have in your hand means that you're going to have more options. You're constantly having to adjust your strategy. So I was trying to fulfill this particular objective training card, but then the orange token that was out here just got nabbed. So now I'm left with only part of that pattern. So I'm going to have to readjust which of these patterns I might be able to do. And I'm just looking around here, and if I can kind of get this pattern completed, that kind of is similar to what I've started. Saying that, I've only got the orange one there in the middle. So it kind of creates for some interesting puzzly dilemmas. Ooh, I can rotate this pattern like this. I could even rotate it like that. And then if I match that pattern so that it can be mirrored, I could take this, place it here, take this German Shepherd, place it here, that would complete this one. House dogs in these top regions of your board. So because I'll have 2 German Shepherds here, I'll get 3 points. And I really love the variety that these Forever Home cards have, in particular the Suburban one. The Suburban one kind of gives you like a recipe that you need to fulfill, and how much of that recipe you fulfill will give you a certain number of points. So if you just put 1 purple dog token in this Suburban area, you only get 1 point, but if you add a green dog species as well, you'll get 3, and if you add a pink dog species, you'll get 6. The idea that these recipes really are going to make the drafting of the dog tokens a lot more tense, but also they kind of reward you for being more tactical about the choices that you make. So I've been playing Forever Home solo quite a lot. I think I'm up to my 5th session, but there's a situation that's just appeared that I really want to share with you because I think it really showcases some of the nuances that occurs in the game. Since the beginning of this game, I've been trying to fulfill this particular objective. As you can see over here, I've got my 2 blues set up, I've got my 1 yellow set up, but I'm still waiting for that next yellow. The market has not had 1 yellow token for about 2 rounds now, and I'm not sure if it's gonna appear again. So I thought to myself, what can I do? Then I saw this card appear on the market where it's got 3 of one species in a row and 2 of another species next to it. And then I was looking at my spatial arrangement of my dogs on my board, and I thought, I've got 3 in a row here. Where can I get 2 more? Then I realized on my next turn, I can actually use an action to move a dog orthogonally or diagonally. And on my next turn, what I can do is literally slide these 2 dogs down here, train them up so they're all in a row. And the fact that you can satisfy this objective in any orientation, either vertically or horizontally for this one, I'll then satisfy that. That just shows how versatile some of the patterns and layouts are in this game. What you're trying to fulfill might not be the one that you actually do fulfill, because I just realized this card not only gives me more victory points at the end of the game, but also gives me the ability to house 2 species of dog instead of 1. I just shifted my investment over to something that was a little bit more worthwhile. And I thought that was just a really great point of realization that I discovered in the game. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Now, I've been playing this game deep into the evening, and I realized there's a few more points I just want to touch upon. First thing is that this game really finishes very quickly. You've only got 8 turns in the solo mode, and if you're in the multiplayer mode, you might have a few more turns before it finishes, but the fact that there's so much I really still want to do and the game has already ended, I'm like, I really want to complete that pattern, that pattern, that pattern. So I feel like adding a few more extra rounds to the game would make the game feel a little bit fuller, just in my opinion. I just want that extra few little turns just to do a few more combos so I can satisfy a few more objectives. But I think it's something that can simply be house ruled. If you want a game that feels a bit longer, you can just extend the number of training cards that triggers the end of the game. Or in the solo challenge, you can definitely, sacrifice extra victory points to get those few extra turns. So what do you think of Forever Home? Are you a fan of the board game Dog Park? Because if you are, this might be a really good follow-up game to add to your collection. I think that whilst the game appears to be quite abstract, the theme of the game actually is quite prevalent once you've got the mechanisms and you see everything connect together throughout your gameplay. I really just feel like that this game is such a cozy game that's really easy to get into. It's definitely a game that I can definitely drink a cup of tea on a Sunday afternoon, get it out, enjoy the warm sunshine, and just really have a great time. It's got some right levels of thinkiness, and the solo mode is actually really quite good. Now, if you really found this video super helpful, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. If you want to see more cool abstract games or cozy games, please head to my main page and check out some of my other board game videos there. Otherwise, this is Danny signing out. Remember, if you really want to shape the direction of this channel, please head over to my Patreon page and support me there. Otherwise, I hope your next board game experience is a beautiful one. See you soon.